Welcome to Module 3, Alcohol Education. This is the first of 4 videos in this module. Together, they will cover everything you need to know about alcohol in the context of DOT-regulated safety-sensitive work. In Video 1, we cover the full history of alcohol and the human side of why people drink. In Video 2, we cover the physiology of alcohol, how it affects the brain and body, and DOT's specific thresholds. In Video 3, we look at how alcohol misuse develops over time and why early recognition matters. And in Video 4, we cover what happens after a violation, the return to duty process, support resources, and safety culture. Each video builds on the one before it. Start here and work through them in order. Let's begin. Alcohol has been part of human life for nearly 9,000 years. Archaeologists have found evidence of fermented beverages in pottery dating back to 7,000 BCE in what is now China, and wine production in the Fertile Crescent dating to at least 5,000 BCE. In ancient Mesopotamia, beer was a staple, not a luxury. Workers building the great temples of Samaria were paid partly in beer, included in their daily rations the way we include bread or water today. Recipes for it were recorded in cuneiform, some of the earliest writing found anywhere in the world. In ancient Egypt, wine was prescribed as medicine. In Greece, it was central to philosophical gatherings and civic celebrations. In Rome, wine production grew into a massive trade industry, and Roman soldiers received it as a standard part of their military ration. Even in these ancient contexts, people recognized its power. Rituals, rules, and social norms surrounding when, how much, and with whom it was appropriate to drink existed in nearly every culture. The idea that alcohol required strict boundaries is nearly as old as alcohol itself. When European settlers came to North America, they brought their brewing and winemaking traditions with them. Colonial taverns became essential community institutions, serving as courthouses, post offices, meeting halls, and polling places. Alcohol production was deeply embedded in the culture, to the point where it was sometimes used as currency. George Washington even operated a commercial distillery at Mount Vernon. Yet the societal tensions were visible. Over time, public drunkenness was increasingly viewed as a moral failure and a severe economic burden on families. By the 19th century, the temperance movement gained immense political power. Driven largely by women's groups, reformers argued that the substance itself destroyed livelihoods and caused enormous social harm. Their solution was total elimination. In 1920, the 18th Amendment took effect. The manufacture, sale, and transportation of alcohol was prohibited nationwide. The experiment did reduce overall consumption, particularly among the working class, but it also created an enormous black market. Organized crime flourished, speakeasies operated openly, and corruption spread deeply through law enforcement. In 1933, the 21st Amendment repealed Prohibition. The outcome revealed a difficult truth. Deeply embedded social habits are incredibly difficult to eliminate entirely, forcing society to focus on fiercely regulating them instead. As the automobile became central to American life, it exposed a deadly flaw in those regulations. Combining heavy machinery with alcohol created an entirely new dimension of risk. Despite passing the first drunk driving law in 1910, for most of the 20th century, the offense was treated with resigned tolerance. Fines were low, licenses were rarely revoked, and it was widely accepted as a minor mistake rather than a serious failing. Public opinion shifted sharply in 1980 when a 13-year-old girl named Carrie Leitner was killed by a drunk driver. Her mother founded Mothers Against Drunk Driving, launching one of the most effective advocacy campaigns in American history. States rapidly raised the legal drinking age to 21, increased penalties, and began implementing sobriety checkpoints. By the turn of the century, uniform legal standards for driving under the influence had been adopted across all 50 states. Driving under the influence was redefined entirely. Today, a conviction carries serious consequences: heavy fines, mandatory alcohol education, license suspension, ignition interlocks, and in many cases, jail time. For CDL holders, those consequences go much further. This is one of the most important elements of this entire training, and the stakes could not be higher. Federal law triggers a mandatory CDL disqualification for a DUI conviction in any vehicle. This applies to your commercial truck, your personal car, and any time you spend off-duty. This timeline illustrates the federal penalties. A first offense results in a 1-year CDL disqualification. If that offense occurred while transporting hazardous materials, the disqualification extends to 3 years. A second offense results in a lifetime CDL disqualification. Most states also have implied consent laws. Holding a license means you have legally consented to chemical testing if an officer has reasonable suspicion. Refusing a breath or blood test carries its own penalty of immediate license suspension, which triggers the exact same professional consequences as a conviction. The law does not distinguish between your off-duty weekends and your on-duty hours. Your license is your livelihood, and it is at risk any time you drink and drive. With that legal context established, we have to look at the human element. People drink for relatable reasons, sharing a social connection, finding an immediate release from the demands of a long day, coping with grief, or simply following a routine to fall asleep. We often picture alcohol misuse as obvious, assuming someone with a problem will be visibly stumbling or failing at work. But hidden drinking rarely looks the way people expect. For many, it becomes a private routine. It looks like drinking alone to unwind, or needing a drink every night just to settle down, kept entirely away from the eyes of supervisors and colleagues. This leads to the high-functioning pattern. A high-functioning individual still meets every deadline, shows up on time, and interacts normally. The external performance is intact, but internally, the biology is changing. Sleep quality declines, mood deteriorates outside of work, and the brain requires more alcohol to feel the same effect. Being high-functioning does not mean the person is unaffected. It simply means the physical and emotional damage has not yet broken through to the surface. The biggest barrier to addressing this early is stigma. The cultural narrative still treats alcohol struggles as a sign of weakness, irresponsibility, or a lack of self-control. That narrative is medically inaccurate. Alcohol misuse is a physiological process, a predictable way the human brain adapts to a substance over time. Viewing it as a moral failing breeds shame. Shame leads to secrecy, and secrecy allows the problem to grow privately for months or years until a catastrophic violation forces it into the open on the job. The early warning signs are quiet. They look like drinking more than intended, feeling irritable when considering cutting back, or finding your thoughts pulled toward a drink in situations where you normally wouldn't be thinking about it. Recognizing those signs early is not a failure. It requires exactly the kind of self-awareness and situational monitoring that safety-sensitive work demands in every other aspect of the job. In this video, we covered 9,000 years of alcohol history, how DUI and DWI laws developed, what an off-duty DUI means for a CDL holder, and the human reality of why people drink, including hidden use, the high-functioning pattern, stigma, and early warning signs. In video 2, we shift to the science. What alcohol does inside the body and brain, why feeling fine is not a reliable measure of impairment, and exactly what DOT's specific thresholds mean and why they exist. Take what you learned here into the next video. We will see you there.